Green.
I'm Kevin Dexter.
And we're both here at Mix UK 2007.
Hi there, Scott.
Hi.
Scott's the General Manager for Microsoft in Seattle, and you're in charge of quite a few development teams.
Yeah, I run the development teams that build CLR, ASP.NET, Silverlight, WPF, Windows Forms, what else? IS and IS7.
Brilliant. So how did you get into development in the first place, and how did that then lead on to you working for Microsoft?
I joined Microsoft 10 years ago this summer, straight out of university.
Okay.
And so I started working on our IS product, which is our web server, and shipped a release of that, and then got interested in kind of web programming model stuff, and ended up kind of being part of the very beginning of .NET. I kind of wrote the original ASP.NET prototype.
So you're in the history books at the beginning of .NET.
Or something like that, yeah.
Okay. Kind of Mix kind of is really a very web-based and kind of we're just seeing a lot of cool new technology. So kind of like looking at kind of now, where do you think kind of the internet's headed in about 5 to 10 years time?
Well, I think I think the thing that's great about the web today is to some extent how much we take it for granted. It's just something that's there that of course we use. And I think over the next 5 years you're going to see the web increasingly. I think you're going to see more connectedness in terms of more communication. I think you'll see probably heavier emphasis on video and audio as part of it, more collaborative nature aspect. And I think a lot of the apps that we take for granted today, will just be web apps that we assume in the future.
Right, yeah. So do you see then with the WPF, a lot of the applications that are primarily on a desktop going web-based and then accessing them from remote locations?
Certainly, I think we're going to see a lot of that. And one of the things that we're trying to do with .NET is there's kind of 3 distinct kind of types of apps that we see people building in the future. One is pure HTML web-based, obviously with ASP.NET and our ASP.NET Ajax technologies. We have a really good story there. Some's going to be desktop, where we have with WPF, in particular, a way to build really rich UI for full desktop applications. And then this new technology we call Silverlight, which is basically for building kind of media and in particular what we call RIA, Rich Internet Application Experiences. And that really blends the best of the pure web in that it's cross-platform and it's very, you just type in a URL to run it. But at the same time, it uses the same UI framework that is in our WPF desktop applications. And so the benefit is you can start to build experiences that have that are HTML-based sites that have pockets of the sort of richness built with Silverlight. And optionally, you can also have an offline or a full desktop version of the application. And you can use .NET for everything, the server, the client, and running in the browser.
So with things like Silverlight, do you then see the designer becoming more of a developer and the developer becoming more of a designer? Do you still see 2 distinct categories?
I think you're going to see, I think in general you see with web development, a lot of people really wear both hats. So you have one person who does both the design and the development aspect. I think though you still are going to see a distinct category of someone who thinks of themselves primarily as a developer, primarily as a designer. And there's still, from a design perspective, how do you build apps that have a really nice aesthetic, a really nice user experience? From a developer perspective, how do you build apps that work really well and are really maintainable? And so there's unique characteristics you want for both. What we're trying to do is, for all those apps I just talked about, whether it's ASP.NET, Silverlight, or WPF, have really great development tools in Visual Studio for developers using it. Yeah. But be able to have, at the same time, great design tools, which is what we call our Expression Studio products. Yeah. And the great thing is you can have both Expression and Visual Studio open up and edit the same project. Working together. And so sometimes it'll be the same person, and if you're an MSDN subscriber, you get both sets of tools. In a lot of cases, though, it might be 2 different people, but the great thing is they can still collaborate and work on the same project.
Brilliant. So since you've obviously been working for Microsoft for 10 years now, what's sort of the best freebie or the best giveaway that you've been given?
A lot of free soda certainly is.
The Vista water.
Yeah, there's the water, and a lot of, I can't count on Diet Coke. Probably the best thing, the most unique thing is I'm a big basketball fan, college basketball, and so when I was they were trying to recruit me, they actually got Bill Gates to sign a basketball asking me to join a particular team, and they sent it to me. And so it's in my office. You know, this, you know, hi Scott, please join us. Kind of basketball from Bill, which is kind of fun. Kind of unique, yeah.
Okay, so like, well, I'm guessing you don't spend kind of all your time kind of doing all these conferences. So kind of what's like an average day kind of for you?
Average day. Every day seems to be slightly different. I manage probably 9 or 10 teams. So you know, a lot of time I spend is focused on you know, some percentage is spent on people management in terms of hiring people and you know, figuring out how do we kind of you know, get people excited and jazzed and executing well. You know, a large part of my time is spent on technical strategy. You know, trying to figure out, you know, what are the gaps that we have with .NET. You know, where are we weak? How can we make it better? You know, where do we evolve kind of our product line going forward? And then, you know, a lot of my time is spent kind of you know, making sure we're executing well and delivering. And so that means using the product. That means you know, monitoring check-ins and looking at code and seeing kind of, you know, does all the right stuff happen. And then I probably spend probably at least 25% of my time working directly with customers. So events like this is great. You know, and also kind of through my blog, I try to you know, talk pretty regularly, and that way you get feedback and you can figure out, you know, okay, how are things going, what are we doing well, and course correct.
Brilliant. One of the things, with all the software that's coming out now, it's kind of going to be the students who are going to be using it and developing it for the new technology in the future. What sort of advice would you give students at the minute who are going to university or college to get where you are?
Well, I think, man, the best thing I always recommend for people that want to get into, you know, into the computer software business, you know, it is to, you know, write software, you know, as much as possible, as early as possible, and really get as broad an experience as possible. And, you know, the great thing is that, especially in this day of the web, it doesn't require you to you know, jump through hoops in order to do it. You know, you can, you know, download one of the Visual Studio Express products if you want to use .NET, or there's other technologies obviously as well, and, you know, just build stuff because you really learn the most, not, you know, inside the classroom, but actually writing real code and experimenting and learning and trying things out, and you know, try to get as much experience as you can from that perspective, and that makes a huge difference later on in your career.
Okay, well, kind of the Imagine Cup's coming out, so kind of students will be busy entering that. And kind of this year is kind of based on the environment, and so do you kind of think that kind of computers, like software, can actually help and possibly change the environment, or do you think it's more about the hardware and kind of like computers and the actual whole idea of that can actually have an effect?
Well, so certainly there's hardware improvements in terms of like energy consumption that, you know, can make a big difference. And I think if you look at, especially in the enterprise space as well as the online space, like hosted space, you know, one of the things that people are increasingly looking at is power consumption, and that has both a hardware as well as a software aspect. And looking at, you know, how can you have servers require less heat, less power to manage. You know, I think where software is kind of special for both the environment and for lots of other you know, parts of the economy is in overall, you know, daily life is it is kind of the glue that stitches stuff together. And so, you know, being able to have a really good software system that connects people, you know, in North America, with Europe, with Asia, and, you know, being able to have decisions and companies go quickly, being able to, you know, do projections of, you know, financial analysts or, you know, grain shipments or, you know, things like that, you know, ends up being super powerful, and it's just kind of added a lot of, you know, a much more fluid nature to our daily lives and the overall economy and environment. And so hopefully, you know, that kind of power can be used for lots of good things.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully making the environment better is one of them.
Okay.
Brilliant. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.